This episode is brought to you by Audible. Audible is the leading source of audiobooks in the world. From bestsellers like Harry Potter to The Martian, or to the Heir to the Empire series by Timothy Zahn, a must-read for any Star Wars fan. And even books by some of the most well-known geeks in the world, like You're Never Weird on the Internet by Felicia Day, or you can listen to Ready Player One read by Will Wheaton, or you can even listen to Tim Ferriss read The 4-Hour Workweek and The 4-Hour Body. With over 180,000 titles to choose from and thousands more on the way, Audible is the go-to source for audiobooks. You can download them on your iPhone, iPad, Android device, and even Windows phones, as well as listen on your laptop. For a 30-day free trial of Audible, which gives you an instant +3 to intelligence, head over to www.audibletrial.com/SideQuest and start your free trial today. Again, for a +3 to intelligence, head over to www.audibletrial.com/SideQuest. Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of SideQuest Podcast. Listen in and level up your life. I have a great guest for you today. He is a fellow podcast listener, as well as a fitness entrepreneur, writer, and he is in medical school right now, so he is finishing up on his way to becoming a doctor. But before we start, let's go through some housekeeping items. If you're not following me on Twitter, check me out at SideQuest FM. You can follow me on Facebook as well. Just search SideQuest Fitness and like the page there. You can also follow me on Instagram as well at SideQuest FM. Or if you want to watch all my shenanigans on Snapchat, head over and search Robbie Farlow. That's ROBBIE FARLOW. Again, ROBBIE FARLOW. And watch all the shenanigans I get into on Snapchat. Ask me questions. I'll answer any fitness-related questions or nerd questions there. I'm probably going to have a nerd out on Snapchat soon, so we can talk Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all the crazy things that are going on in the world of nerd as well. All right, guys, without further ado, let's get into the show and hear from Ryan Bergren. All right, guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast. I have a fantastic guest for you today. He is a listener as well, but he's also a fitness professional. He is the first doctor that I've had on the show. Still working on getting many more. But I wanted to get him on for a while, and just through scheduling, finally got a day worked out and got him on. But I want to make sure I pronounce your last name correctly. You can find his website over at thewhitecoatfitness.com. He is the one and the only Ryan Bergren.
Nailed it.
See, the only time I ever get a last name right, and Nick, I'm so sorry if you're listening. I'm still horrible with your last name. Someday.
Just keep practicing.
Just keep practicing. Ryan, welcome to the show, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's quite honored. I've been listening to, I probably binged on your show quite a bit, especially when I first found it, and then been keeping up with it as you've been putting out new episodes. So
thank you. I have to add, did you find it through iTunes? Did you find it just through Facebook?
That's a really good question. I actually don't remember where. I might have seen one of your posts or something, or maybe someone mentioned your podcast or like on another podcast, but then I said, I like the idea. I was a big gamer back in high school through the part of undergrad, so and then plus I just enjoyed most of your guests. So,
what was your preferred game or games when you were before you decided to play the game of Operation and become a doctor?
Yeah. Let's see. So Halo was a big one for me. The one that actually got me into like multiplayer stuff was Ghost Recon. StarCraft back on PC was big. Yeah. The Assassin's Creed, loved those as well. I liked a lot of games.
I'm assuming with med school you've had no time to play.
Yeah, that's where it's. I always look at them and I go, oh God, I just love to, but balancing, med school with then writing and everything else too. I've just pushed that off to the side. It's just not on the priority list right now. With unless we start getting longer days, then
Yeah, I have to be honest. I haven't really. I've been focused on the game of entrepreneurship, and haven't played as much as I would like to. I think I could claim a game or two as a business expense because I could play the game and write some articles about them.
Yes, yeah, I think so.
I should maybe check with my. It's a question of like, hey, accountant, dude from, yeah. Can I do this? And I have a feeling he's gonna be like, no, you're a bad accountant. Find me someone who can.
Find me someone who will make that happen.
Like, my whole brand is about like gaming and being a geek. Like that, I should totally be able to write that off, right?
I'm pretty sure you can sell that.
I think I can do it. But Ryan, tell everyone who doesn't know about you. I know you post on Facebook and you share things. So thank you for doing that. It means a lot to me.
Yeah.
I try and share anything that you guys put up as well. When I get the chance to sort of go through stuff and look through it, but it always means a lot when you say, "Hey, great show," or share a post. It it's makes you feel like someone's out there and rooting you on. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
How did you get into this world?
Well, a lot of sports when I was younger. So I started skating when I was 2. Played pretty competitively hockey all the way up through high school. Played football and ran track as well. But those were kind of on the side to hockey. I played that year round. So I played a lot of that. And then undergrad, I kind of had this time block and this continuous activity that I used to do, and I had to kind of fill it with something. And that's kind of where lifting came in. And it took a couple of years of just kind of messing around in the gym. I barely even count those as productive towards anything at all. And then I decided to kind of get serious. And really, when I get serious about something, I kind of dive in full force. And so I started reading absolutely everything I possibly could, and I really haven't stopped since then. And that was when I did that one just before 21. So been doing that for 6 years now, just reading voraciously just about everything I can, from textbooks to books to blogs to research, everything I can really kind of find.
So what inspired you to sort of go to med school? I mean, you played sports your whole life, but that sort of ends either after high school or after college.
Right.
Like, what made you go, I want to go spend a lot of time in school learning and have absolutely no free time?
Yeah, and a lot of money as well. Don't forget about that. I've basically bought a house by now, so
right. Yeah, you could have paid for like at least 8 years of college in the
yeah. Well, I'm not really sure. I would love to have the story of I just got struck by lightning or whatever, and I just had this great epiphany of why I wanted to go to medical school. But for a while, it was down to I wanted to go to professional school, and I had it down to pharmacy and medicine. And then I started working as a pharmacy technician in an inpatient pharmacy in my hometown. And I just saw and that's the probably most exciting job for a pharmacist. That's not even the behind the counter, behind the Walmart, just dealing drugs all day long. These guys at least get to work with IVs and work with hospital patients and talk with doctors, and work on, managing hospital patients' medical lists. So it was a lot more involved, but even then I just thought that looked horribly boring. So I would rather be the doctor then. So kind of moved into doing the MD, and it's a long road. So I won't start actually practicing by myself until I've had 24 years of training and education. So
24 years,
counting K through 12, and then 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school, 4 years of residency.
Wow, that like you think about that. You started. I mean, by the time you're 30, like you're 30 and you're just starting to sort of be a doctor.
Yep.
What's a common thing that people assume about doctors that is completely and utterly like not the truth about like med school or what you're doing?
I think a lot of people assume that you're just inherently rich and that they have a lot of money. And honestly, it is by far the worst way to go about getting rich in any way, shape, or form. You couldn't pick a worse way to do it. the amount of money that you invest, the amount of time you invest is ridiculous. So if you were to calculate out like an hourly wage, by the time you're 40 or 50, maybe you're finally starting to break up into like the $40 an hour range. It's because you put so much time into it past undergrad, and the amount of money. So, so I think that's a big misconception, that doctors can just be kind of throwing money around willy-nilly. And actually a lot of them do, and they end up in financial trouble because, most of us, that's our first real job going out, and we've been broke pretty much our whole life at that point. And then everyone they get that first paycheck, and all of a sudden it's real, but then they forget that they have all this debt and all this other stuff, and that money can disappear quite fast. So yeah, that's one thing I learned. I mean, I didn't go in it for money anyway, so I mean, it wasn't a slap in the face, but it certainly is a thinking point for people going in when they're like, oh yeah, I just want to go in and work in the medical field and make lots of money. It's like, well, if that's the only thing you're looking for, there are much better options to do. Yeah,
I think that is. I think it's even true for lawyers. I have friends who, and he went to law school in New York City, and yeah, he's doing well for himself. But I mean, he still has, $150,000 of school debt to pay off, and that's like, even what I have is measly, compared to that. But it's it's a huge hit. It's like people don't think about the debt, no, and that it prevents you from a lot of things.
It's always kind of hanging there in the background, just collecting 7% interest all the time.
Yep. So, all right, let's talk about some articles. I had a question in my head and then I lost it. The first one that I really, really love that you wrote, because oddly enough, sometimes I feel like I'm copying people, and I'm not. Like everyone talks. We're all talking about the same stuff.
It's the same stuff.
It's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. We're putting our spin on it, or we write something that someone wrote 2 years ago.
Absolutely. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no real new stuff coming out.
Yeah. I mean, all the new fancy stuff people try to sell as programs have basically just been things that someone did for a couple of years in the 70s, and someone just read a book and found it and made it
absolutely.
It's, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
But you wrote a great article about embracing the suck, and I started to write something about embracing the suck, and then it sort of became more about embracing the dark side, which I still haven't finished because it's kind of personal, and I don't know how to.
Sure.
I don't know how to finish it. I don't really know how to get it out.
Okay.
But what was your biggest struggle? Like what thing did you really suck at that you just had to like embrace to get better at?
In terms of fitness or life, or doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter. I mean, dude, you could be like, listen, I sucked at talking to chicks. Like it could be anything. Like what? Like yeah.
Oh, that would be a good one, though. I probably still suck at that, but won't really know at this point. So, let's see. There's quite a few things, I guess. But really, probably the one of my biggest ones is really patience and learning how to take things a bit slower. And obviously, with school and kind of what I'm doing, I'm forcing myself to do it, but a lot of times learning that to just pace yourself and not really just jump into 100 miles an hour just because that's your only speed, really. And that seems to be my only speed. I seem to apply that in a lot of areas. I was a sprinter, so I had no middle ground in terms of I was walking or I was going all out, and I seem to do that in a lot of areas. But learning how to tame that back is something that I've definitely struggled with, and it can force me into burnout mode pretty easy if I don't keep a handle on it. And I've slowly been working on it, learning how to kind of listen to myself, I guess, a little bit. Studying in med school, it becomes, a day job, basically. I mean, it is your job, literally. But there were days where I would just end up basically hitting my head against the wall, or that would have been just as productive. And at that point, most people think, well, but you have to. I mean, you can't take a day off. That's not okay. You need to be going all the time. But then I realized the next day was horrible, and the day after that. But finally, after some trial and error, I found out that if I felt that and I took that day off you can't just take days off randomly. Oh, I'm not quite feeling it today. It's like literally you're reading and all of a sudden you have to read it again and again and again, and it's still not there. That's a day where you go, you know what? Maybe I should relax. Maybe I should just back off a little bit. No guilt, no nothing. Sit back. And then you come back the next day, and honestly, those are my best days of studying. I was the most efficient. I took the most information in. And this lesson carries over to lifting as well. I like it way too much. So it's very easy for me to spend hours upon hours in the gym, day after day after day, every day, take no rest days, no deload, no nothing. And all of a sudden, I'm sore everywhere. I can barely move, tired, demotivated. And, so learning how to pick those cues up better has been a struggle. It's taken me years and years to figure it out, and I still am.
So as you've been in med school, yeah. I'm used to grad school because I lived through that for the last 2 years with my wife. How have you been able to keep a fitness regimen, when you've had 10, 12-hour days in residency and you've had the study and you've had all of this, what tricks or tips or tools can you tell people that worked for you that might work for them?
Sure. So for me, it really comes down to just thinking of your priorities and having a very, very determined priority list and then scheduling things based on those priorities. So for me, obviously studying was a priority. So that got the most, that was scheduled first into my day. I would get up and I would start reading, studying. That's also when I found I was the most effective at reading. So reading at night for school didn't do much for me. I didn't retain it. So had to figure out a better way to do it. And then I scheduled my workouts. I mean, I never truly wrote them down. I've never been much of a calendar person, but in my head, I had, this block of time, this day, it went in there. And so it was basically penciled into my day. I had to get a little more flexible when it came to my clinical rotations. All of a sudden the time wasn't mine. At least before I could structure my days basically how I wanted to. But now I was there from time A to time B, and time B was normally dictated by the attending. And sometimes that was going to be a long day. It might be a short day. I never knew. So then I switched my workouts from afternoons where I preferred them to doing them in the mornings. And so I was never a huge morning person, but now it was time to sacrifice and figure out how I can get up in the morning and start being productive very early. So now I'm up at 4:30 most days, and I get in and work out and get it done. So now that is the first thing. I'm done with it every day. There's no question if I'm going to get a workout in because it's already done. So if the day goes long or something comes up, it's already done. So, and that comes from my priority. It's a very large priority in my life. So I make sure to get it done, however I can do it without interfering with the rest of my life, I guess.
When you get up in the morning, coffee first, or are you pre-workout? Like what gets you go? I mean, are you just naturally like you get into the groove? You're a morning person. You're up at 4. You're good to go, or do you need a boost?
Yeah, I just get up. I roll out of bed. I'm normally not too happy about it, but once I'm out of bed, I just wake up. So I'll just wake up. I'm still not excited, but in about 15 minutes, I'll be moving pretty good. And normally, a warm up for the gym will get me pretty much completely warmed up, and then taking a couple easy sets right away and really kind of getting my mind fully into it. Caffeine, I've actually been horribly resistant to it my whole life. It does nothing to me. I mean, on the hockey bus, people used to buy energy drinks, and like I would have one and I would fall asleep. It just does nothing to me. So I like coffee just for flavor and for health benefits, but it doesn't do anything for me to down a pot before I go anywhere. So that's unfortunate, but nice at the same time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I love coffee. I've had way too much caffeine today. I got up, my internet decided not to really work. Luckily, it's
Yeah.
not working now. Ran to the coffee shop, but they have like free refills when you spend like $2.25. And I'm like, I'm
Oh,
sorry, what? Free refills? I'm just gonna tweak out while I work.
I'm going to make my money off this.
Yeah, yeah. So it was worth it. Totally worth it.
Oh, yeah.
So let's getting back to sort of you and being in med school. What? So you made fitness a priority.
Yep.
What besides that, and besides spending time with family and your loved
Yep.
ones, what was your biggest struggle? What for you really was difficult about med school? You know, obviously personal time. What did you struggle with besides the fitness side?
Coming to the realization that it was going to be so long for me before I got a job. Honestly, that probably hit me second year. I remember walking back from, I don't know, one of my classes, I think a test had been, I'd gone in feeling really good, and I came out wondering what the fuck just happened. I have no idea if they just pulled, completely random stuff out of the book. But I swear I didn't see at least 50% of the information that was on there. It wasn't that I forgot. I literally swear I just never heard or saw it. So it was one of those times where I was just kind of thinking about that. And then I was going, what is all this? I've been, working this hard, and, I still have 6 years at this point left before I'm even going to have a job, really. And it really kind of hit me there where, and so then I was like, well, geez, I still have this massive standardized test, an 8-hour standardized test coming up this summer that I'm going to have to study for, and, just all this other stuff. And it was just like, man, I don't know if I'm like motivated enough to do this. It was kind of the first time I like studying. I like learning. So that's why, med school has been fine for me. And that's why all the fitness stuff is fine. I enjoy learning stuff, so it's fun. But that was where it actually literally leached the fun out of it for me. So that's the first time I really kind of questioned things. But then, it was trying to get that spark back, I guess. And really that was where I'm lucky. I'm extremely stubborn, and I have no idea how to quit things, even when it's bad for me. So it really wasn't an option to quit or do anything else but to continue forward, which ended up slowly but surely. I, kind of got back in the groove, but that was a rough little stretch.
Where did you find time to read any of the fitness stuff that you loved, or any other books that you were trying to read, or that people were like, oh my God, you have to read this? It's like, are you now catching up on all of those things?
The books for sure. I've just really started getting back into reading and buying books again. I read quite a bit more nonfiction and some fitness stuff, or more fiction and fitness stuff in like undergrad and things like that when I had endless amounts of time on my hands. During medical school, it was more just the quick articles, blog articles, things like that from the couple sources that I enjoyed. But in terms of time, I've always had enough time. First year medical school, I probably had on average 4 to 5 hours of free time, not counting like a 2-hour workout most days. That came from very efficiently studying. I also don't need quite as much study time as most people do, but it's because it's efficient. When I get down to do it, and it normally takes me 15 minutes or so to really get into it. But I found just some study habits for me that worked very well. For others, they hated it and didn't see why I would ever do it that way. But I literally avoided people during the day. Classes were videotaped, so I didn't go to them. So I'd watch them at 1.5 times speed at night. And so I basically avoided any distractions that I could during the day. And I just crammed in as much as I could until I felt like my brain was going to, explode. So that left me with a lot of time at night to kind of relax, wind down. And that's when I would, read a couple articles or something that I wanted to, like in the fitness realm or something like that, that was away from med school, wanted to stay away from that. But it wasn't really enough time for me or that I felt that I should dive into a book. And then I was just kind of picking up things like that here and there.
Yeah. So moving on to a little bit more of your past before you got to med school, you had a little bit of an eating disorder. You had some trouble with eating. Could you talk a little bit about that and what how that sort of developed, how you
Sure.
overcame it, and why that was such a pivotal moment in your life?
Yeah. So that was when I decided that that I just really wanted to get really, really lean. And I'd never done it before. I'd always probably hovered around like a 4-pack or so my whole life just because I was so active, but I also have an insane appetite. So that probably kept me hovering around there as a pretty happy medium. And then I just decided, I was going to get this flat 6-pack that everyone talks about. So that's still when the 6 meals a day hype was going on. You have to keep your metabolism burning and all that crap. And so I saw that, counting out controlling your calories, counting out your macros, and tracking them meticulously was the way to do it. And so I did that, and I found my obsessive side, and it kind of took over. And the feeling of control, I guess, was fun. The feeling of results was addictive. And I just slowly whittled down farther and farther and farther. And again, this is probably where my stubbornness is a bad thing. At one point I was probably doing 1 to 2 hours of cardio on an elliptical or so, plus weight training, pretty much every day. And that went on for quite some time until I'd whittled myself from 190 pounds down to 150 on a 6-foot frame is not exactly the best look. And I think if I went back and looked at my log books, I think I was eating somewhere around 2,000 calories with that amount of activity. It was pretty ridiculous. But yeah, so it was just the feeling of control. I really enjoyed that, I guess. And then it became almost like an obsession, just so much control and being able to so finely tune things, to the point where it was certainly not nice for the people around me, because I would not go out to social events that had food. Well, I would go to them, but I wouldn't partake in them at all. I would measure everything out from salad dressing to vegetables it was just ridiculous. And so it was probably worse for the people around me because I was so obsessed with it. So then coming out of that, at some point I finally realized that it was time to start trying to gain weight, at least, that I was lean enough. But still I couldn't release from that whole counting and controlling everything, because now that I'd done it, I had no idea how to let go of it and how to do things, quote unquote, normally, I guess, or how to eyeball things. I couldn't take the fact that there'd be a miscalculation then. So it would be out of my control at that point. So honestly, that took 3 years of slowly trying to stop counting and stop weighing everything. And that was very hard. I would do it for basically as long as I could handle. And then I would go back to it again and try and push it a little bit farther the next time and then go back to it. So just hopefully lengthening the cycle of being able to stay away from weighing everything. There's probably better ways to do it, where you could slowly systematically work from the least damaging things and not weighing those and eyeballing them, or not even caring, like fibrous vegetables. I think it's ridiculous if anyone counts those. I see absolutely no point in it.
There's no,
so
the amount of broccoli that you would have to eat,
you would explode and die and your colon would rupture. So yeah, I think systematically taking that approach might be very helpful for people if that's where they find themselves in. So if you're counting vegetables, stop. The next part would be, I would tackle probably fruit at that point would be next. And not counting those and eyeballing them to the best you can. And also during this whole time, really trying to start paying attention to your own hunger signals, which have probably been completely suppressed at that point, because you're just going by exactly what you have mapped out for the day and what you have planned to eat. So you're not even paying attention to your body anymore, which is very true for me at least. And then I would just slowly, again, work back to you'll find some foods that you can eat larger quantities of that will satiate you, and really focus, making those kind of a center point for your diet, and then, going out and finding something else, but really basing it around. So for me, it's lean protein and green veggies. It sounds super boring, but I cook pretty well, and I really like, those foods. And I know that those are very, very hard to overeat. And so I can eat good portions of them. And then I can fill kind of things in around that. And then I have carb sources like potatoes or oats that are going to be pretty dense and voluminous as well. And I know, again, those will be much harder to pack in, 2,000-3,000 calories or something crazy. And then having some sweets on top of that and learning that. But it took 3 years at least to really.
So now if you're trying to lean down, do you just increase your protein and veggies overall and cut back and on everything else, or because Ryan, I struggle with that, and it's I have sort of modified a system that my friend Adam uses with his clients, and in creating a sort of points based thing.
Sure.
Which I think a lot of people find it a little easier. I mean, it's still based off of serving size,
right?
And what's on the nutrition facts, but you don't have to weigh every single thing.
Right.
You do, like, one serving will be like 2 points or 3 points or 4 points or whatever. But what do you do now? Because I still right now weigh everything out, only because when you got to eat 600 grams of carbs a day.
Yeah, that's a little bit harder to for most people to eyeball to get to that. I would not even struggle with that at all, but I'm also not most people, so that's not a.
I mean, I would eat 3 pints of Ben and Jerry's Froyo, but
Yeah, the fat macros will creep up on you there if you end up doing that. So for me, the last time I leaned down, I have some pictures up on my website, and I post them on Facebook, I think. And I think I wrote an article about it, but I don't remember how much detail I went into. But really, it came down to, I tailored it to my psychology. I would not recommend most people do something like I did. So again, this comes back to my lovely extreme thinking and how I like extremes. So I would do pretty much protein, lean protein and veggies at the start, probably about 4 days a week, 4 days in a row. And then I would have a couple apples and some strawberries, basically some fruit on top of that. I didn't measure any of this. This is all by eyeball. And honestly, my eyeball is probably pretty off right now. So it was probably a lot of protein because I have a pretty large appetite. Probably way too much, way past necessary in terms of protein synthesis or anything like that. I just generally like protein as well, so that's nice. And then some fruit, and that was about 4 days worth at the start of the diet. And then it would be about 3 days of just high carb, low fat, medium protein. And then I just slowly weeded out those higher days to the point where I was more at the very end after 4 months, so 16 weeks. I was down to about 6 days of hard diet 5 days of hard diet, 1 day of a fairly controlled higher carb day, and then one just really ridiculously high carb day. So it turned into a cyclic type diet, but much more on an extreme end than most people probably would ever do. Just going off of my higher eyeball estimates, I would say the low days were probably around 2,000 calories, maybe slightly under. And then those higher days were pretty high, 4,000 to 6,000 calories or so. So
yeah, you're spreading, you're taking the whole week and
basically, yeah. And it's just much easier for me. Me and moderation don't go well, but if I can do one really hard day and then the next day is really easy, that's fine. But if every day is kind of a medium amount of hard, I'm not a big fan of that.
It's the opposite of what I used to cycle rest day and workout day. And I just was like, I just want one constant.
Yeah, just one constant. Yeah, a lot of people like that. And
but I do struggle with if you want to get really lean and that is your goal, then yes, it is. You need to measure it out because you're able to control.
Right.
You're able to keep that under control. And I think doing 30 days of like really measuring everything, it gives you a good general idea of like when you go out, like, okay, I know that this is about a quarter or a third cup of rice.
Absolutely.
Like it gives you an idea of like, okay, this potato is like a medium-sized potato. Or okay, this thing of olive oil is like 4 tablespoons of olive oil. So I can't really.
Yeah, I shouldn't eat all of that.
Right. Or, oh, look, they gave me some nuts. Okay, that's, that's what, like, that it gives you a good sense of things.
It creates awareness, I think, really. It really, yeah.
I think a lot of us struggle, with the, there's intuitive eating, which you're sort of talking about with following your hunger signals.
Yep.
And then a lot of us get really hardcore about macros, and sometimes we get really upset if we go off, and it can sort of create stigmas. And I think there's one thing that, we talk about eating disorders typically with women. That's where we see it in the media. That's where we see it, and the same thing with bodies. But why do you think men are so afraid to talk about like eating disorders? Like, what is it? Just because innately it's like it sort of involves feelings, like, oh, feelings, dudes don't talk about feelings.
Probably. It probably stems a lot also just from society and how men think they can't show weakness really at all. And they see that probably as a form of weakness in that, oh my God, I actually care. Like I have this feeling that I'm just going to eat everything, and that makes me feel guilty. And what is that feeling? So yeah, I think it's a combination of feelings and just this not wanting to seem like you have a flaw or a weakness. And probably the alpha male, which is just ridiculous. I think it's dumb, but mentality that a lot of guys have, and how they're, a man's man. They're this, macho guy, and macho guys wouldn't, care about such things. And eating lots of food is a great thing, but, wanting to actually worry about it is not. But yeah, there's some literature on, all the studies and everything point to women. It's like a 9-to-1 or, ratio or something. But in reality, I think most psychiatrists agree. Oh, that's the field I'm going into, by the way. Most psychiatrists would agree that, that guys internalize it much more, and it's probably much more prevalent than what we truly, or what the surveys will say, probably by a factor of 2 or 3 at least. So it's something that's definitely prevalent. It's something that is definitely not, when guys, they also probably feel like it is a woman's, because paradigm, it's a woman's disease or it's a woman's problem, and that makes them clam up even more. So then they feel like, wow, I can't possibly be the only guy with this. Yet they probably aren't. And I can say very confidently they aren't, but that's what it feels like. And it never feels nice to be alone when you're out there with something like that.
Because thinking about this as we talk about it, like, at this, I think this winter bulk, though, I really miss my fats. Like, it's been really nice. I put on a good amount of muscle. I haven't like ballooned up and gone full Stay Puft Marshmallow Man like I did last year. I've gained some fat, but sure, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But I wonder, like, now as like I'm ending this, one, I'm going to be really glad not to continue the gigantic gas factory that comes from all the like oats and like bagels and rice that I eat.
Yeah.
That will be a plus. And taking my carbs back down and getting my fats back up, but like getting back down to like 28, 29 100, maybe. Like, I might start back at 3,000 just to mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really want to get super shredded. And
Sure.
I wonder if that, like, you know, I did it. I got there once, and I could do a bodybuilding thing, cool. But do you think that maybe the reason guys don't talk about this and why maybe eating disorders is more prevalent is because for men there's this there's this unspoken thing, like body shaming is acceptable for men. Right. You know, like it's not necessarily like we don't do it with women. That's not cool. Like there's a whole movement against it. But men, it's like, nah, bro, you're looking fat. What's up, Tubby? Like, all right, doing your Chris Farley impression? All right, cool. Like, do you think that actually does affect us more and maybe does kind of keep us so worried about macros and flipping out that...
Oh, absolutely. I think you hit on a really great point that, you know, just society, the way it is, and the way guys act, you know, to each other, especially. I mean, I grew up in locker rooms, so my skin is pretty thick. But I would probably be pretty naive to say that, you know, my subconscious hasn't probably internalized some of that. I haven't. And, you know, a lot of banter gets tossed around pretty much constantly in any group of guys that you find. And, you know, for the most part, it's fun and everything. But I would definitely think that when it comes to a topic like this, I would see no way that it wouldn't have a pretty large effect on why guys don't really want to talk about it, and then why it can create some issues, and then it makes it very hard to fix them because then you can't discuss them with anyone.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I'm not gonna lie. There are morning, like, yes, do I still wake up and like look in the mirror and like, yeah, I can flex and see abs. Yeah, but like, I think that's something like I struggle with. Like, I don't really care. My wife doesn't care. She doesn't care. Like, I don't want to get to a point where I stop caring. And I think that's what I'm worried about is that, like, I'm performing really well. I don't want to get lean to where, like, it just, like, my workouts drag and they suck and they feel awful. It does,
too. Yeah.
Like, I still, but, you know, I still want to look good. I still want to look fit. But I just don't even know if abs are even worth it anymore. Dude, I built one hell of an ass this winter. And, like, I'm not going to lie. Like, abs are 2004, glutes 2016. Get with the program.
Yeah, you know, guys definitely should get on that training. I'm lucky, again, as a hockey player, that's never been an issue for me. But yeah, I think that's probably a neglected spot for guys, and I think they'd find that women would enjoy that.
I mean, you know, more hip power for, you know, the sexy good times. Yeah, giggity. Now that I've completely made the podcast really awkward and people are like, God, why do I listen to this rambling ginger idiot? Because I'm fun and I'm exciting and I'm crazy. No, I do. I think that's something that like isn't really talked about.
I agree.
You know, and like, all right, I'm going to write it. And guys, I know, and people who are listening, I'm going to write this article and I want you guys to sort of, you know, keep make sure I do it, you know, keep me accountable. I don't like posting. There's a part of me like I don't like posting photos online of myself shirtless, though they are up, because you know, I don't want necessarily people to be like, oh, that's what you're supposed to look like. No, that's what I look like. That's what I'm cool with.
Right.
And I want to be like, you know, abs aren't really that great, but I don't know. Abs don't define you. They don't make you any cooler. They're not going to make girls want to sleep with you anymore. Like, absolutely if you don't have a personality and you have abs, girls are going to sleep with a guy who at least is entertaining. So get a personality, then you can get abs. Like they don't define the essence of your being. No. And I just think I think that's what too many people think that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, I think a lot of people tie in happiness to it. They feel like they're not going to be happy till they have them, and then they get them, and it's like, well, I'm still not happy. This kind of sucks.
It's like beating a video game, you know? Yeah. Like you get so excited to beat it, and then you're like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Like I beat I'm all pro Madden. Like I'm the Madden ultimate like badass. Like
but now what?
Yeah. Now what?
No, I agree, and I think it's definitely a topic that isn't touched. It's one that I've actually been meaning to do quite a bit more writing on. I compile research on it, but I don't know really how much research like an article like this really needs. Although I always feel like writing in the fitness industry, you need to have your PubMed studies all cited everywhere
Sometimes.
for anything to be legitimate. But this is definitely an important topic. It's one that, especially considering the specialty I'm going into, is very important to me. And considering I struggle with the same things, the same issues. I have my days where I'm just like, screw it, don't even care. And other days where it's like, damn, I just want to get lean again, or, things like that. So I cycle back between both of them. And, when I was really lean, it was like, God, this is really nice. This is cool. But I was like, I feel like dog shit. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is just like, I can't think. I can't, and again, I can do all my daily activities because I'm stubborn and I can get up and do my workouts just fine. But the mental fog, just constantly just feeling drained. And, it wasn't worth it at that point. And then it was like, well, this was fun. I did it. Now get me back to feeling like a human again, please.
Yeah. My main goal is just not to have to buy new pants, which is successful. But, I've said that a million times. I'll buy new shirts all day because T-shirts, I'll wear T-shirts. I can buy a pack of T-shirts for $13. Yeah. I don't want to have to, I just don't want to have 6 pairs of jeans for bulking season and cutting. So no.
Yeah.
And then the 2 months, maybe a month and a half, you're in maintenance, and then
Yeah.
It is an important topic that I think a lot of people sort of have talked about and alluded to, and I need to finish my sort of article that I've done and being like, they don't define you. Get them awesome. I say everyone go for it. Do it once in your life and get super lean and shredded, because I think you need to understand just how shitty you feel. You see all these guys smile, they're smiling, mm-hmm. but they walk off a bodybuilding stage and they're like,
yeah, you're dying.
Yeah, and you do it once. Get really super lean. It's really fun. It really is. It's a lot of fun to do it once.
Yep.
I don't know if I want to stay there.
If it didn't make me feel like dying constantly and just feeling just horribly tired and everything, then I would think about it. But no, I can't maintain it. My body isn't made for it. Some people's are. And so when you look at some people that maintain that all the time, realize that their genetics are different, their activity is different, everything's different for them. And for them, maybe they don't feel like death every single day. And for them, it's not a huge sacrifice. So, and that's fine. Some people are like that. Other people, your body fat needs to be higher for you to be feeling good. And that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. You should every day, other than, if you have that one goal to get down to it, you shouldn't be spending your days feeling like crap. That's just not how to live your life.
Yeah. 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 All right. So some fun questions before let's break out of the serious stuff. Let's have some fun. All right. If you could go anywhere in a time machine, where would you go?
Anywhere in a time machine. I'd want to go see some dinosaurs. I think they might eat me, but that would just be awesome to live Jurassic Park and just go ride a T-Rex around or something.
All right. I ride a T-Rex around.
I don't know. Maybe he would eat me then. You
do live in extremes, sir. You live in extremes.
Well, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right.
Well, I just imagined you having to set up this Ewok trap where he trips and you have to jump on his back, and he can't turn around to get you because his neck's not long enough and his arms he can't reach.
Those pesky little arms of his, he wouldn't be able to get them. Then he probably wouldn't be able to push himself up though either. So,
too bad you can never have a tea party with a T-Rex. Be like, I can't reach a T. I don't know where that came from. What is your favorite curse word?
What's that?
What is your favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word? Fuck ton, probably.
Fuck ton.
It's a unit of measurement, actually. So
it actually is a unit of measurement. I like that one. I like that one. What's the most money you've ever drunkenly spent at a fast food restaurant?
Does Domino's count as a fast food restaurant?
You know what? I used to deliver pizza for Domino's, so I say yes.
That is the only drunken food that I've really I never did the whole go out to fast food joints. Where I was for undergrad just wasn't conducive to going to a fast food joint other than ordering Domino's. So then that was probably, even then I normally mooched off someone else. I was very smart about my drunk munchies. Yeah, that was probably up in the $24 region or something, probably like 2 large pizzas or something. I have no idea what they run anymore, but probably something like that, and probably devoured at least a whole one myself. So,
I've downed a whole pizza myself. Man, we made. I didn't make it, but one of my old roommates who worked at Domino's made what he liked to call the Fat Boy's Delight, and it might be the most epically awesome pizza ever. Large thin crust, ranch sauce as the base, so like ranch dressing as the base.
Yep.
It had chicken kickers. So the chicken kickers as the topping,
delicious.
Bacon, regular cheese, extra cheddar cheese on top, and then you just took the hot sauce and drenched it across, put it in. Oh,
that sounds fantastic.
Oh, it was so good.
That sounds absolutely amazing.
So good. If you could be any animal on a carousel, what animal would you be?
Any animal on a carousel? I don't even know what animals are on a carousel. Boy, I'm going to go with a super dude answer and go with like a bear.
All right. I like it. A bear. All right. So I got to ask your age. We're around the same age, right? Right before 30?
27.
Okay. Good.
Just turned 27 a couple of days ago.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Backstreet or NSYNC?
Ooh, that's actually a tough one. I would go with probably... Which one did JT come from?
NSYNC.
NSYNC. So then NSYNC, just because I'm a fan of JT now.
He's the only one really with a career.
He made it. I mean, he did really well. I forget which. I watch way too many food network shows, but I think one of the ones from NSYNC was also on a Food Network show for a while or something. I would have to look it up.
I know Lance Bass does like satellite radio now.
I don't have cable normally. That's only when I'm either at my fiance's place or if I'm out at one of the clinical places that has it. Otherwise, I never paid for it because I'm too cheap. All I want is internet and Netflix.
All right, you were in the finals for the International Air Guitar Championships. What song do you play to take home the crown?
Oh my God! Well, air guitar. I would have no idea what I'm doing.
It's air guitar. You don't have to know.
I know. That's the best part. So it's just something I got to rock out to. Boy, I'm not sure. So it would probably be one of the Metallica songs. I'm not a huge fan of Metallica in terms of their singing and actually, but I just love the guitars in it. Or maybe a Van Halen song. Go kind of old school. So probably something from Van Halen.
Okay.
Some of their guitar, I can really get into those.
I got you. All right, if you could write a note to your younger self, what would you say in only 2 words?
Ooh, 2 words. Boy, I am never that concise. I like to ramble. Probably just it would be just do it. Nike style. Do it.
Do it. Okay. All right. So we talked a little about your history with med school, but you're going into psychiatry. So what spurred you into that direction, or do all psychiatrists have to go to school for that long, or did you sort of change?
Yep, psychiatry you have to. Psychiatry is a medical doctor that's just specialized into the mental health realm. Psychologist would be going through like undergrad and then you go to graduate school type work. Orthopedic surgery was actually my number one choice for 2 years, for the first 2 years of medical school. It seemed kind of smart. Everyone thought I should do it anyways, just because I was into sports and liked sports, and that's what a lot of sports guys do. So I was the co-leader for the interest group. I did some research and surgery, and then third year started, which is when we get out to actual clinical rotations and we get to actually start doing semi-doctor stuff. At least we get to see real patients. And and psychiatry was my first rotation, and I had absolutely no idea what was going to happen because I think we'd touched on psychiatry for like 3 or 4 lecture days in 2 years, and that's it. So I had no idea what I was in for. All I had, to go on was movies, which obviously do a fantastic job of telling the truth, and so I knew exactly what was going to happen.
And Frasier.
Yeah. So I had this like Shutter Island type picture of what a psychiatry inpatient ward was going to be like. And it just blew my mind how I enjoyed neurology as well. That was a fun subject. So I like the brain, and it was really just mind boggling to me what the brain can do when it's malfunctioning. The first day I had a patient tell me that they used to be black like Michael Jackson until they drank bleach, and she was the whitest woman in the world. So that's how she became white. She drank bleach, and this is obviously not even close to true. And she had plenty of other fun delusions to tell us about, and and then watching that, and then being able to get them on medication that actually made them able to function was just mind-boggling. That something like that, a transformation like that, could happen. And had plenty of other ones with the more bread and butter depression but it was great. I had a patient tell me that for years and years and years, he couldn't even get out of bed, and he didn't want to do anything. He just wanted to lay there in the dark and not move until his wife finally told him that this is not how people are supposed to be. And he said, well, this is how I've felt my whole life. This is normal to me. And it took him almost a year of different medications, therapy, and finally hit the right combination of an antidepressant and some augmentation. And he said it was like someone just drew up the curtain, and it was like he was born again. And all of a sudden the sun was there, and he can now go out with his friends and enjoy it and be happy. And it's just being able to be a part of something like that is pretty awesome. And it's also extremely interesting to me in terms of we don't know crap about the brain and how a lot of this is going down, and we're still learning. We just found out, new receptors in the brain from one of the SSRIs. It's acting on this new receptor we didn't even know existed. But now the problem is we have no idea what the receptor does. We know it's there now. so there's that. So I think that, along with the more the scanning and the MRIs and the being able to really, really go in depth and see kind of the more connections that are broadly scattered through the brain, and working with neuroplasticity and things like that, I think we'll have some pretty awesome stuff happening in the next 10 to 15 years, and I can't wait to really see where that starts to take us. So it just fascinated me, I guess.
Yeah, the brain it's so interesting because it's coming from a theater background, you create your brain to start thinking in different ways, and you can, like, I don't know how to explain to someone what it's like to be on stage and be performing a character, but at the same time, like, your real self is watching this character do all the things and say all the lines that you're like. Sure. It's like two brains are working. It's this really weird, surreal moment, and I know it makes me sound like some weird, crazy person, but
in other ways it makes sense.
Yeah, like it's the brain's just very, very interesting in how it operates, and how you can start thinking differently and rewire your own brain.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's one of the things that I did when I started to get healthy and move towards things. And things I do with my clients with create your own hero, and I want you to
I love that.
Start thinking like the superhero you looked up to, you look up to them for a reason. Mm-hmm. You see a part of yourself in that person. Mm-hmm. So how when they have an obstacle, how do they get over that obstacle? Right. Okay, well, you have an obstacle. Imagine that you're that character. Imagine that take on that life force and use that. And I mean, I've seen a ton of my clients just really be like, wow, that really worked. Like, it works for me. And when those struggles come back up, you know what? you're always going to have a nemesis. Your hero always has a nemesis. You know, you just have to learn how to, you know, battle it. And then you have some wins for a while, and then you might have a loss, and then you just have some more wins.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love your how you do things. Coming from a gamer background, I dig it. It's awesome.
I think sometimes, you know, again, it's a little part of my theater background as well, but you know, it's fun to get on stage and be someone you're not. You know, I mean, I have seen guys and girls who are very quiet and reserved, and they get on stage and they put on a character, and you're just like, I'm who? All right, like, and then they step off and they're they fully take on that character. They've just, you know, they're no longer, you know, the other.
And
I think a lot of it, and this is one of the things I learned as an actor. Sometimes that's who you really want to be, but that's a safe place you can be that person.
Right. Yeah, you feel protected. You feel like that's a area you can do that and really.
I like I said, you know, do it when the things you struggle with. Take on that persona. If you start trying to live the life that you want to live, and you be the person you want to be, you can start to rewire your brain. And you know, it weirds me out though too, because like hearing you talk about all these things, I'm like, am I like convincing people to like how because you like that's one of the things that like as an actor you like a lot of actors really fear is like, what happens if I take on a character that I can't get out of that character because you know, it's
that would be a messy situation to say the least. Yeah, I wonder if that's ever happened. That makes me want to go figure it out. But I mean, because I see exactly where you're coming from, and obviously with some of the patients that I've dealt with, I mean, you could make the argument that something like that possibly happened. I mean, not really, because I've never had someone that's displaying a full-on dissociative personality disorder like that, where, you know, they have literally another kind of personality there that's fully themselves, and they switch between them. But yeah, that's an interesting thought, though.
I mean, I've often wondered, you know, I wonder that about actors. You know, you do, because you're like, are you like, do you just naturally have these? It's I don't know. It's my background. It's interesting.
It's a fascinating topic. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, the brain's always intrigued me because it's we really don't understand it.
Absolutely not. Not even close.
You know, and things that I don't know. It's crazy. And what we're doing now with like the internet and being on phones and you know, sitting, like, how much is that changing, being less active? How is that developing our brain? How different, like, there's so many things. It does
nothing good. Nothing good, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that, well, you know, then you get into some crazy studies like, you know, Tim Ferriss is backing with, like, psychedelics, and I won't talk about my experiences in college, but they were fun.
I'm very excited to see. I'm so glad they've lifted the ban on those, and they're finally starting to do some good research with it. I'm really, really glad that that's moving forward.
Dude, I'm very much a person who's like, look, I think everything at some point deserves some sort of look into, you know, into investigating. I mean, you gotta investigate it at some point.
Yep.
You know, but it is an interesting field, and I'm excited to see what you do with it, and how much more time before you are officially Dr. Bergren?
So I will graduate. I will get my MD the 6 days after I get married. So May 13th is when I will get my MD and get the whole celebration and stuff.
So I can't call you doctor until then.
Not quite, yeah. Then I truly will be. Although there's plenty of people, and you know, some of the patients I see, or some of the doctors even introduce me as one. I'm like, but no, I'm really not. You can't quite do that. I'm not okay with that. Still a student doctor here, guys. Still a student. Still learning.
That's man. I was going to call you Doc on the podcast but I won't.
Sorry.
I won't.
You'll have to bring me back on later in at least 6 months, and then I'll be good to go. then I'll be an intern at that point. So,
not the doctor.
Yeah, not quite.
Dinosaurs. All right, Ryan, I've had a great time. We're nearing our hour mark. But last question before I let you tell people where they can find you. If you could have dinner with anyone in history, who would you have dinner with?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Marcus Aurelius.
Yes.
I think that'd be a fun choice.
I
like the time period as well too, so that would just be fun to see the time period as well.
Yeah,
so.
I think it would be interesting. Really, I would just be like, it would be interesting to go up to him and be like, okay, your journal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? My journal? You've read my journal? Dude, everyone in the world has read your journal where I'm from, and it's like the most influential piece of work in written history.
Yep.
My journal? Like, I'm just a dude writing down my thoughts. Like, people
Nobody's
I wonder what he would think about that. Yeah. You know, like if one day randomly my journal or your journal became like the thing that inspired.
Yeah, that'd be, it's odd to think about, but obviously, can't believe that, something like that happened.
Yeah.
But
it would be hilarious because people would be like, who is this Han Solo he speaks of?
Yeah.
Who is this Skywalker and Mario? Who is this Zelda? These people must have been of great power and strength. Nope. They were made up characters.
Nope. They don't count. They're in someone's imagination.
So, Ryan, if people want to know more about you, where can they find you online, on social? Where can they read your posts as well?
Sure. So my website is www.thewhitecoatfitness.com. You can find me on Facebook. Just search The Whitecoat Fitness. And Twitter, I've kind of fallen off on that. I'm not quite as good. I do much more posting on Facebook. I try to put out at least one little tidbit, or at least find an article or a podcast like you put out and post that up for other people to see. I try to do that once a day. But Twitter is Whitecoat Fit. And those are really the kind of three main places. My email and contact is on my website, and I respond to everything. I absolutely enjoy getting anything positive or negative. Even the negatives are good. That means someone's reading it, so I'm still happy with those. I still see that as a check in my column. So I love hearing from people, and hopefully they find it helpful. And yeah, it's been fun.
Cool. Well, guys, everything we talked about will be in the show notes as well at www.sidequestfitness.com/podcast. So you can get all the resources we talked about from all the fitness people we talked about, to books and fun things we spoke of, like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC,
obviously,
and all that.
The important stuff.
All the important stuff. I'll even link to Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, which you can get on Amazon for really, really cheap. And if there is a book you read in 2016, it needs to be Meditations, hands down.
Absolutely.
Basically the man / Ryan Holiday who inspired my wedding vows. But those two books, that and Ryan Holiday's book,
yes, it's a good one.
Were big inspirations. But yeah, Meditations is a fantastic book. You should definitely read once or twice in a year. Once a year. So. I think Bill Clinton says he reads it like once a year.
Yeah, and I don't see why not. I mean, it's such a fantastic piece of work, and it's really just gets your mindset. I mean, you should read it at the start of every year, just to really get your mind right. And
it's interesting because you think about like the leader of like the empire of the world at the time, and he's just a guy like struggling, like he's trying to find his own
normal
meaning.
Dude, normal struggles, having to prep himself every single day to just make it.
Yeah, but there's this sense of something bigger. It's not just like him complaining. Like he's like, no, I have, like, there are standards, there are things I have to do.
Right.
So it really is a great book. So I've had a great time chatting with you guys. Please check out Ryan on Facebook as well, on Twitter, and his website. Have all the links in the show notes, and hopefully we can get you back on when you become Dr. Bergren.
Definitely.
And congratulations on your upcoming marriage as well. Getting married and graduating med school. It's a busy summer for you, sir. It's
a big shift. I'll end up moving. I'll do a whole bunch of stuff here, so it's going to be pretty awesome. And this was a great way to start my year off, though. So this was awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. And guys, please check out Ryan on Facebook, on Twitter, and on his website as well. Ryan, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
forget, guys, if you want to add +3 to your intelligence, head over to www.audibletrial.com/sidequest and get a 30-day free trial of Audible.